All right, you found it, your favorite hockey podcast. Thank you for listening. This is Wooden Sticks from Talk North and the Talk North Podcast Network. We are recording today, as we always do, from the Aquarius Home Services studio. We're not in panic mode, but a lot of people in this market that follow the Minnesota Wild hit the siren yesterday. I had texts and calls and messages from people I haven't heard from in years with the subterfuge that was all over Twitter. And again, social media is awesome. It can be great. There are days like yesterday where it can be a real pain in the butt. We had racing yesterday at Canterbury, so there were a lot of questions from our race fans out in Shakopee last night. And I'm going to go back to what we've talked about on this show multiple times is, I trust Billy Guerin. I know Kirill Kaprizov, as well as a sideline reporter can know a player. He's a shy kid. He's a real down-to-earth kid, and he's built differently. Like, I've been around a lot of different types of hockey players, but the one thing that I keep coming back to with number 97 is how much he just likes to be left alone and at the rink. Like, he just loves to be out there doing his thing, and proof is in his actions. Every day when you're at Tria Rink throughout the season, practice gets over, and there he goes. Zuccarello's out there with him. Boldy's out there with him. He'll drag another 3 or 4 teammates out there. They're doing some type of shooting contest, some type of passing contest. They're working on the power play and different situations that they get into come game night. And he's a rink rat. For lack of a better description, that's who Kirill Kaprizov is. So as this thing plays out, and I've said it from day one, if he gets to the ice in training camp next week and we don't have a contract extension, I'll then buy into the hype. You'll have me. I'll start to actually worry about where this thing is going. But until then, remember the last time he had a contract, it was signed on the eve of training camp. And I think that's where we're at right now. So let's let it play out. Let's understand that his agent's doing his job and he can be a bit of a handful, and his job is to get the most term and the most money for his player. Nothing else. He's not here to make friends. He's not here to be Billy Guerin's buddy. All right. He's here to get the job done for his agent. And from the Bill Guerin perspective and the Wild perspective, they've got one agenda here, and that's just to sign the guy. And so, we don't want what happened years ago with Marian Gaborik to play out again. I don't think it will. I think they'll find a common ground, whether it's 5 years, whether it's 8 years. I don't care. I just know that Kirill Kaprizov loves it here, and I know how much his teammates love having him here, and I know how much the Wild are going to offer him, and nobody can offer him a better term, whether it's years, whether it's money. And frankly, I love the situation he's got, because if you're Kirill Kaprizov right now, you've got one of your favorite players long-term in Vladimir Tarasenko that's been acquired. You've got a young star in Danila Yurov that you get to help mold. And I think that there are relationships already in place in this hockey team. There's a comfort level he has. And so I'm not worried. And so even though social media blew up yesterday, and even though, Michael Russo, who I adore and just respect the heck out of with the job he does, he's got everybody all whipped into a frenzy, and nobody's better at doing that than Michael. And that's cool. That's what he's supposed to do, right? Like, if you work for the Athletic, the more people you get to come to the Athletic, the better you're going to be doing. And so now yesterday, everything's just blowing up. But Pat Micheletti is a guy that isn't working for the team. There's no agenda with Pat. He's a hockey analyst. He's a tremendous, tremendous asset to have here on Wooden Sticks. And so at the request of a lot of my people that I had text conversations with, phone conversations with, or saw last night at Canterbury, they were clamoring for Pat Micheletti to come on here and to give his thoughts. And so I don't know what they're going to be. I have no idea. I haven't heard Pat on the radio yet. I'm sure he'll do a bunch of work here in the Twin Cities in the coming days. But he was the first text I made yesterday when the news broke, and he is nice enough to have been available for us here today to record as we sit here. It is a Thursday afternoon on the 11th of September, and looking forward to seeing what Pat Micheletti has in store for us today on Wooden Sticks. Before we get to Mick Tocchet, I want to thank the people that make this show happen, and I'll start with one of my closest friends. His name is John Schweitz. He works for Minnesota Masonic Charities, and they are awesome. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. My dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz. Also want to thank our dear friends at Onyx Maps and Onyx Fish.
Have you ever driven past a piece of land and wondered who owns that? Or maybe you need to know exactly where a property line runs. That's where Onyx Hunt comes in. And it's not just for hunters. There are folks using Onyx for their jobs every day throughout the country. From farmers and ranchers mapping out their fields, wildland firefighters navigating rough terrain, to construction workers needing to know who owns what property, this app offers something for everyone. If you need the best land ownership maps, aerial imagery, and property boundaries in your pocket, Onyx Hunt is the tool for the job. Try it free for 7 days. Download Onyx Hunt in the app or Google Play Store, or visit onyxmaps.com/hunt to get started.
And our great partners over at Lexus in Wayzata and Maplewood. Up next, we break it all down. The Kirill Kaprizov contract. Will it happen? Will he stay? Will he go? Pat Micheletti is here to give us his thoughts next. All right, we're back. An emergency session with Pat Micheletti here on Wooden Sticks, recording today from the Aquarius Home Services Studio. Mick Tockett, the voice of reason, one of the best hockey analysts I've ever come across. It's great to connect with you here in this very important time of the fall.
You as well, KG. You know, I mean, the Ryder Cup is coming up, right? And I mean, can't we just be focused on that? But no, we get diverted back. We get diverted back to hockey. No, it's great to be with you, as always. You know,
the art of negotiation, whether it's a GM and an agent for a professional athlete, or if it's someone in the business world, it doesn't matter what line of work you're in. There's an art to it, no question. And if Wild fans thought that this was just going to be a slam dunk and Billy G and Craig Leopold were going to come up with their years and their number and it was just going to be done, there's other plans involved. And I think that people need to take a step back and maybe reassess where this thing is at, and maybe take the panic down 5 or 6 notches, because the amount of text messages and phone calls I got in the last 48 hours about this would make your head spin. And I've got relatives, I've got family, friends, they're all panicking. I'm not panicking at all. Like I normally I am that guy. I mean, literally during the season, I'm a wreck. But right now, I thought this would get done before training camp started. And until he hits the ice, I'm not going to worry. How about you?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And a couple things, boy. I mean, this could go on forever. But point number one is that this was a report that was, whether this is true or not true. Okay, we don't know that. It was from a reporter who, wherever he got his information, maybe his information is good. Maybe it is all true. Maybe he did turn it down. Okay, that's number one. The team, on the other hand, is saying, well, I don't know where this stuff came from. And so we don't know. We just don't know what the conversation was like. Was it, we're not going to take this, but let's move on to a different type of contract, term-wise, money-wise, whatever the case may be. And, we all have the tendency to jump to conclusions. Once we see something, it's got to be fact and it's over. So, until we really see it, until we understand it, until the player comes out and says, I'm not ready to sign a deal yet, we just don't know, KG. And so I'm going to take the word from the GM. I'm going to take what he says right now and just go from there. Like he said, we'll move on. And what does that mean? And so we'll find out soon enough.
Well, I think what we do know in this situation is, Kirill's agent has one job and one job only, and that is to get the
Yep.
best deal for his player. It doesn't matter from his perspective how long it takes to get it done. It doesn't matter if it puts the team in an uncomfortable position or if the fans are in panic mode, which they certainly are starting to get there. He just needs to figure out the best deal, the most productive deal for his client, and his client is Kirill Kaprizov. Now, we have both watched Kirill Kaprizov blossom into this superstar player, and seeing him on an everyday basis, he just strikes me as the type of guy that truthfully just wants to play hockey. He's the closest thing to a rink rat at that level I've ever seen.
Yes.
So I think he's going to let the agent do everything, and that's cool. But I don't get the feeling that he wants to go anywhere else, and I don't get the feeling that Wild fans should panic right now.
No, and ultimately, if it was just Kirill and Billy and Craig Leopold, whoever else is representing the Wild in this, we're in a room just with him, I think the deal would be done. And the agent, the agent is going to tell his client, just don't say a word. I'm handling this. And I don't know how much input Kirill really has in it. A lot of times the player doesn't. I mean, obviously they talk, and the agent knows that he likes it here and all that kind of stuff. But the agent is thinking, well, wait a second, cap's going up. Maybe we'll get you, in a bigger city with more endorsements and blah blah. All that kind of stuff goes on, right? But to your point, you watch Kirill when he's out there. He's like a kid when he's playing in a National Hockey League game. He looks like a kid at the outdoor rink having a great time. And so I hope that becomes the case where Billy and him just sit down and talk it out and get it done.
Yeah, and he's 28 right now, and so
yeah,
a lot of conversation about the 8-year deal and about the term and 128 million. That was the story that was leaked. Whether it's true, how accurate it was, we don't know. But Pat, put your general manager's hat on right now, and flip the script. Instead of being on the player side of the ledger, put yourself in Billy Guerin's shoes, and look at this pragmatically. If indeed, as some of the again, there's a lot of different rumors out there, but let's just say that the agent or Kirill are looking for shorter term. As someone that follows the team on a regular basis, do you necessarily believe that's a bad thing? Because if it ends up being 8 years, cool. He'll be 36. He'll still have the chance to be at the tail end of his career and get something done if he wants to play like a lot of athletes do in their late 30s. Sidney Crosby being a prime example, still getting it done out in Pittsburgh. But if he wants a 5-year deal, or even a 3 or 4 year deal, if you're the Minnesota Wild, why is that a bad thing?
No, I listen, I'd rather give out the shorter term deal, especially you mentioned his age. He's 28 years old. And then it still buys you time to, manage your cap, improve your team in the areas that you need. And then in that time frame, you may have a chance to make some type of run. And then at the end of the 3 to 5 year, whatever the deal is, then you can reevaluate. The player can reevaluate. The player may say, man, are we, I don't know. I'm not going to say cup, but we're close. We're getting there, or we won it, or whatever. You have all those things to talk about. And listen, he's beloved here. He's a hero here. And players, they like that. They like that, especially when you win. And so I'm with you 100%. In fact, if I was the GM, that's what I would be offering. Now, it's a little different because this is a superstar, and you got to kind of give him what he wanted. And to Minnesota's credit, they have offered him all they can offer him. Maybe they can throw in another $500,000, $1 million, whatever the case may be. But they held true to what they said. They will make him the richest player in the National Hockey League as of today. That will change with McDavid potentially and such. But, one other point, Kevin, and I was thinking about this. When this isn't like you and I negotiating with Bill Guerin to get a contract. Boom, bam, you get it done, right? Think about it. Every high profile athlete, in any sport, you see it, and we've seen it. Look at Micah Parsons. Oh, that didn't work out. He gets traded to Green Bay. But all of these contracts for these high-profile guys, they take longer than usual. And that also gives me a little pause and worrying about whether he's going to sign the deal here or not.
Remember the last contract that he signed, it was on the eve of training camp. And so when I've been asked about this and, working out at Canterbury with the race days kind of dwindling now at the end of summer into fall, I get asked a lot. And I'm like, listen, if he hits the ice and he's out there playing in organized team activities at training camp, not captain's practice, I'm talking actual training camp, preseason games into the regular season. If he is playing at that point without an extension, that will be the warning sign to me, Mick, that I'm going to start to worry. But until then, I have no reason to worry, because if I'm his agent and if I'm Kirill, I have up until the eve of training camp to freewheel here, and it's risk-free. The risk would start once team activities start. And if he gets hurt in practice, in a preseason game, in a game, his value for that next extension goes out the window. And that's why I would be shocked if we get to that stage.
No, I'm with you 100%. And something that you and I had talked about on a previous episode was, the potential for injury. I mean, this guy has not been the healthiest guy,
right?
Here with this team. And listen, guys, the way that he plays, how hard he plays, and getting to those tougher areas and being susceptible and being a target, quite frankly, for the other teams to shut down. That in itself, gives you a little. It makes you worry a little bit about the longevity of a player like that. I mean, we've seen guys who just play so hard all the time, and their careers are shortened kind of because of that. And so that's also, I think Minnesota's taking a risk here too by giving out 8 years and that type of money to a guy who, are we sure he's going to be healthy? And that goes back to your point earlier on the shorter contract. That I think that makes all the sense in the world.
And I think for hockey fans in this market, especially of a certain age, that remember the early years of the Minnesota Wild, in my opinion, Kirill Kaprizov is the best player to ever put on a Minnesota Wild jersey. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
Yep. No, I would concur. Yep.
But the carnage, at least in our memories, comes to the second best player to ever put on that sweater, and that's Marian Gaborik. And the Wild had a similar situation with Gaborik. They didn't get a contract extension before his final season with the Wild. They let the thing play out. And unfortunately, Mick, at the time that this thing ended and the dust settled, they couldn't come to terms, and they lost Marian Gaborik for nothing. And so I think with that in the back of everybody's mind, if things don't progress like we think they will, and I would say, in my mind, 90% by this time next week it's done, but let's just say, let's play devil's advocate, it isn't.
Yep.
In your eyes, and the National Hockey League as well as anybody, if the Wild were pigeonholed into a place where they had to make a move with Kirill Kaprizov, which we don't want to happen, it would be the last thing we want. But if they do get it put in that situation, what kind of trade value would Bill Guerin have? And if you're Bill Guerin, how long would you wait, knowing that the last 2 seasons, 97 has missed significant time with injuries, and he's a marked man every time he hits the ice, because teams know if they're physical with this guy, they can try to slow him down because he's so good.
Here's the problem, KG. This Kirill has a no trade contract, right? And so he would have to supply Minnesota. I'm only going to go here, or here, whatever, one team, 2 teams. And then, so when that happens, Billy may not want any of the players that are on a particular team. I'm not going to throw any teams out there, but that could be the case. Let's go back to, remember a guy by the name of Wayne Gretzky, right? And he was traded from the Edmonton Oilers to the Los Angeles Kings. How'd that trade work out for Edmonton?
Not
I'm
great.
not, huh?
For the
Not
Oilers?
great.
Not
Yeah.
great.
No, they got a number one pick. Jimmy Carson, I think, was in that deal, and he didn't pan out very well. I can't even tell you the rest of the deal, but I know the deal was not great. And and this is Wayne Gretzky, the best player in the league at the time, and so you got to be really careful. I hate to see them have to move him because I'll go back to let's bring up another local name here, Kevin Garnett. What did the Timberwolves get for Kevin Garnett? They got
Not
5
nearly
players
enough.
that nobody heard of, right? So you're going to get a lot back. You're going to get that haul, but is that haul any good? And typically these type of deals don't work out unless you are getting a let's say it's New Jersey, okay? We really want Kirill. Well, you're going to have to either get you're going to have to get Jack Hughes, right?
Yep.
Or nothing. If you're trading him, you name the 5, if you're trading him to Colorado, well, you're going to have to get, I don't know, who? McKinnon?
Cale Makar. Yeah.
Cale
Well,
Makar.
you're not going to get McKinnon.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way I feel good about a trade. I don't want futures. I don't want a prospect. I don't want, and that's what scares me about having to deal them. So, and Kirill can say, I'm only going to go to Chicago, New York, or wherever, or LA, or, I'm just throwing it out there. And so that gets really, really tricky. And the player holds all the cards in a situation like this. Now Billy can try to get the best that he thinks, but normally that doesn't pan out. So that also scares me a little bit.
And I think if hockey fans in this area take a step back and take a deep breath and listen, Michael Russo is the best in the business at what he does. He covers the game like nobody else, and he can stir up business like nobody else. And guess what? No different than a guy doing the weather, loving the fact that there might be a thunderstorm warning, tornado alert. I mean, people are going to come to your product, right? Well, Michael Russo thrives in this scenario, so he's going to stir it up as best he can. That's good for business. But taking a step back and looking at this and understanding that Kirill is a shy kid, like that hasn't changed. He's for the most part left alone to his own devices in this market. He's not in a fishbowl. It's not New York. It's not Chicago. It's not LA. It's a hockey community, but it's a community that leaves him alone. He's a shy kid.
For sure. Yep.
He's got his buddy Tarasenko now with him. All right. He's got Yurov coming over. He's got a great relationship with his teammates. And he's got a team that he watched last year against the Vegas Golden Knights team play 6 great hockey games. Series could have gone either way. It didn't go their way. But I think he understands the game well enough to know that this team isn't that far away. And then he looks at some of the young players like Zeev Boyum. He takes a look at a young guy like Brock Faber that's continued to grow into one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League. And he sees some of the young prospects we've got here. I don't know why anybody would think he's going anywhere. I've said this from day one, and I'm not going to change my mind, and I may be the town idiot in 10 days, but I don't think there's even a slight possibility he wants to go somewhere else. His agent is doing this, and he's doing the best he can do for his client. And if you're Michael Russo and the folks that are on that side of things, they're doing the best they can for their product because they want as much drama as possible.
Someone's got to stir the pot, right?
And nobody stirs it like Michael.
Right. And guess what? Everyone will go and read that article. And that's what he's supposed to do as a journalist. But no, I agree with you. Listen, when Kirill came in here, and you are around, every day with those guys, you see how they treated him. You see how they treat him today. And you know what? There's a comfort level with Kirill, with this group of guys, the core group, the Spurgeons, Brodins, the Foligno, that whole group, right? They took him in, and I think he understands how good of friends that they are. And it's not easy. You just don't go to another team and pick up where you left off. You always have to get acclimated to a new place and new teammates and new structure, new style, new city, new, all of that. And that's not just as easy, easy peasy, right? And so to that point, I'll be idiot number 2 with you if this does not work out. Because ultimately, I think and I'll go back to it. If Billy and him sit down in a room, and the agent's out of there, and they talk it through, and Kirill understands what Billy is saying to him, because you got to remember, this is going from Billy to agent to Kirill, right?
Yeah.
And so in that transferring of information, it may not be properly understood. Okay. The money's not, but the other parts of things. So I think that's going to be real important. And hey, Bill Guerin, and his tenacity and his just I'm not going to lose mentality. I feel confident that eventually it will get done.
I do too. Billy's got a tremendous amount of passion around this. He understands the value of Kirill Kaprizov on and off the ice for this organization. And, I think it's important. I mean, the numbers are the numbers. He's a great player. He's a top 10 player in the league. We get that. I think what people don't understand, when they're going to see this contract, they're going to see the numbers, and they're going to think the agent got a little over the top and was greedy and all that. That's all well and good. But what you can't measure is a kid's will to win and a work ethic that this kid brings to the table, and the ripple effect it has. I've been talking about Marc-Andre Fleury for the last handful of years, and the ripple effect that he's going to have. But I'll double down on Kirill Kaprizov. And you've been on a lot of hockey teams, Pat. When you've got your most talented player, your quote-unquote superstar guy that literally stays after practice day after day for 40 to 50 to 60 minutes to work on skills.
Try to get better.
There's a ripple effect there that can never be measured in a contract. And the young guys, kind of all boats rise, right? They're being pulled along to work just as hard as Kirill. So to me, this is a no-brainer from a Wild perspective. And I don't mind Craig Leopold coming out and saying what he said, because it was the truth. And Bill Guerin's backed it up. You made the point. They have backed up the Brinks truck, and it's going to get done. Like, I believe it in my heart of hearts. Knowing this kid, knowing this situation, and knowing where this team is at right now, I believe it's going to get done. Now, in the world of life, things don't always go the way you think they're going to go. If it doesn't, they'll figure that out too, because remember, this is the same general manager that was backed into a corner with Kevin Fiala, and in a very similar situation. And it looked bleak. Like the Wild might not get anything for Kevin Fiala because the entire league knew the Wild didn't have the money to pay him. He was out the door at the end of the year, and he goes to a very good organization in the Los Angeles Kings, who are a playoff team, who have won multiple cups in the last decade, and he basically says, I need a first-round pick, and I need Brock Faber, and guess what? He got it. Unbelievably, he got it. So no matter what, I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to understand that Bill Guerin and his staff know what they're doing. I believe Kirill wants to be here, and no matter what happens, the Wild have some equity here, and they're going to be just fine. And so I'm excited. Like training camp being a week away, Pat, I'm legitimately starting to finally now feel the winds of change, so to speak. Like hockey season is right here, and I can't wait.
Yep. And let's go back to the beginning of this conversation, Kevin. What do we know that is factual? Quite frankly, we don't.
We don't know a thing.
We really don't. One reporter reports that he turned down X amount for X amount, and the general manager says, I don't know where it came from. And so, again, before we panic, let's take a step back and just let it play out.
It's the world of social media now. And there's a lot of good that comes from social media. I can be working a Wild game on a Tuesday night in December, and something big throughout the league can happen that we're going to use in our broadcast. And I can go to my phone, and within 30 seconds, I can find the highlight or the play or the situation that's buzzing all over the world, right? Like it's a different time. And so there's good and bad. The bad part is like days like yesterday where that rumor gets spread and it's like hotcakes. It just gets circled around the world and people start to freak out. So I'm not going to buy into the hype, but I'm just going to trust that these guys get it done. Now, from a from a Wild perspective, Matt Boldy kind of got, because of yesterday's breaking news, he's doing some stuff for NHL media. He's one of the representatives for the Minnesota Wild. And I love what Boldy said. Like, what a great teammate. He raved about Kirill. He raved about being his teammate and how hard he works and what he brings to the team. And he said, as far as the contract goes, he goes, I don't care. I've got my deal, and I hope he gets the most he can get. I just want to play hockey with Kirill Kaprizov. To me, that speaks volumes to how these guys respect him and adore him in that room.
Yep. And here's another thing, KG, is we haven't heard a word from Kirill about a contract, his thinking or any of that. And a lot of people might, I hope it doesn't turn to this. A lot of people might think, this greedy little blah, 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 which, you alluded to earlier, how mild-mannered he is, how he just wants to play hockey. This is completely driven by the agent, and agent who is has a reputation of being a really, really tough negotiator. And this, I don't know the man, so I'm not gonna say good or bad about him. But for Kirill, his teammates know him, and what they think of him and what he thinks of them. And so I just hope Kirill doesn't get thrown through the mud for something that really is out of his control.
Yeah, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That's in the world we live in right now. The agents take care of that negotiation, and the player just shows up and knows that his agent's going to get the best he can for him. And when it's time to play, he'll play. And I know he's back. And captain's practice is underway, so they're getting ready to ramp up. Training camp is a full go next week. We're a couple weeks away from preseason games starting. As you kind of watch from afar, let's put Kirill Kaprizov on the back burner for now and trust that gets done. What are some storylines and who are some players that you're going to have a close eye on as the preseason starts and as we get going at training camp?
Well, I think there's a big, I look at Liam Ogren, okay? Mm-hmm. And this is, I don't ever want to say make or break, but I'm going to call it an opportunity is going to be there for a guy like him. And he's got a show now. He's got a show. And that's, to me, that's a real big one for me. I'm very interested to see Yurov. I hear nothing but great things, but we know that that's going to take a little time. Probably, hopefully it won't. He's such a gifted player. So I'm anxious to see him. My biggest storyline, and it's going to be the biggest storyline throughout the whole year with this team, is the health. If they can stay healthy, I have no problem saying you are a playoff team and you can win, win the first round and go on to the second round. But any type of injury, the depth overall with this team, and I'm talking into Iowa and, all this other stuff, or putting guys in positions that maybe they're not quite ready for, that really scares me. And so, that's kind of where I'm at right now with them.
And to your point, it sounds like as training camp starts next week and we get into preseason games and maybe even into the early part of the regular season schedule, Jonas Brodin is likely going to miss some time. And, I look at the core of this hockey team, and I'll use Brodin, Faber, Spurgeon, Kaprizov, Ek, Boldy, like the core guys, right? Last year they missed so many of those guys, and there were so many games that those players were not available. That's back-to-back years, and now you get to a point where I'm okay with it if it's just a couple weeks in the front end of the season. But last year they were missing key players for long stretches at crunch time. Now, how they got there, I'll never know. The fact that again, it came down to the closing seconds of game 82, and so it wasn't easy. But it was a credit to this team, and they were able to overcome that. But that's back-to-back years they've been forced to do that. And I think they need a year this year where they're core guys. You're going to have injuries in hockey. You're going to have guys miss time. But keep your core guys out there, and then they'll be just fine. And then give your young guys a chance to take a step. I think for training camp this year, Jesper Wallstedt, Zeev Boyum, these are two critical pieces. You mentioned Ogren, Yurov. These are the guys that, to me, have to show up in the preseason and make a splash. And if I see Jesper Wallstedt playing a preseason game, I want to see him look like an NHL goalie, like he did when he first got here. The last couple of years, some of the residual effects, Pat, I think of all these injuries, is a depleted Iowa team that really struggled, and a goaltender that was trying to backbone a team that wasn't very good because of their players being up here in St. Paul.
Right.
So
and then your confidence goes, right?
He lost it. Yeah, he had a really tough year last year. And so there's no more Marc-Andre Fleury to save the day here. So the Wild are depending on Gus Bus getting out there and being ready to play 55 to 60 games and having a guy behind him in Jesper Wallstedt, who turns 23 in November here. We're starting to get into that sweet spot in a goaltender's career. They don't shine as early. They don't shine at 20 or 21 very often unless they're freaks like Patrick Waugh or Tommy Barrasso. But if now 23 here in November and a couple years of pro hockey under his belt in the States, this to me is a very impactful year for that goaltender and, frankly, for this organization, because they've got the two guys now, the two Swedes lined up to kind of be the backstop here for many years to come.
You need your backup, not to go undefeated. Go 500. But the point is, he's got to win some games for you, because Gustafsson is not going to play 82 games. We know that. As you mentioned it, probably going to be in the 50 range. Maybe a little bit more. Depending upon his health too. But regardless, you're going to need your backup to win a few games for you. And so is that a question mark? Of course it is. He's a number one pick and this, that, and the other thing. But, to your point of him not having a great year last year and, all that, he's got to come through this year. This is a big, big year for him also in his career.
It is. Now, last time we talked, they hadn't found common ground with Marco Rossi. That has since been taken care of. Mick, your thoughts on the deal that Rossi got and what we can expect from number 23 this year?
Well, I'm going to say this again, and I'm always in the minority in this. I think he would flourish more on the wing. That's me. But that being said, I think it was the right number, and to me, it was always about the right number. For him, I thought 7 was way too much for him. I don't think, hitching your wagon to a 7x7 with him was not appropriate at this time. Listen, we know how hard he works, and we know how good a regular season that he had. But there's still some, at least to me, prove it to me a little bit more. Prove to me, that you can play in those tough areas all the time, that you can defend, that you can help get pucks out of the zone, that you're not going to get manhandled and things of that nature. But I'm glad that they got it done. And, hopefully he'll use it to make himself better. And that's what you want you want a hungry player coming into camp. And I'm sure he's going to be hungry.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all the guys. I'm looking forward to getting back over there next week. Let's talk just a little bit here at the end of our conversation about college hockey and what you're looking forward to this year. You're a huge part of that on the broadcast side, whether it's locally with the Gophers or nationally at various different outlets. So as we kind of take a broad brush approach to taking a peek at what lies ahead, teams to watch, how good are the Gophers, and what are some of the storylines you're excited to cover in terms of college hockey this year?
Well, the biggest thing for me is the parity in college hockey. And, if I was looking at it today, I could say, there's about 20 teams that could win it. And I'm not kidding you. And it's just, I look at the Big Ten, and I had to put in my predictions for 1 through 7 in the Big Ten. I have the Gophers as 4th.
Oh, wow.
I have Notre Dame at 7. I have Penn State at 1. But and I was I don't know, I was talking to somebody else the other day, and he said, you could flip those and be right, and that's the way it is. And
Yeah.
and I look at the CCHA, and with the rule changes, with getting the ability to bring in, Canadian CHL players, Bowling Green completely turned their roster over and has like 15, 16 new players on their team. And so you don't know what they're going to get. They're probably pretty good players. Michigan Tech, new coach, really good recruiting class. Bill McCult, former Wild player, taking over there. They're going to be good. Luke Strand in Minnesota State. They get arguably the best goalie in college hockey coming back, and a good nucleus coming back. They're going to be good. Bemidji State, they get this. Bemidji State has two kids coming in that have already played professional hockey.
What?
Okay, one in the American League, one in the East Coast League.
Holy
And
cow.
for some reason, Tom, I was talking to Tom Serratori yesterday, and he explained to me how it all worked. And okay, I believe you. And it went through the NCAA clearinghouse. So anyway, my point being is, and this is just in the West, right? In the East, we know is always good and always loaded, and so I just think the parity and in college hockey is off the charts, and it really makes for a better game.
It's funny, Mick, back in our era, it was a lot easier to handicap. When you played college hockey at the U, it was the same roster for 3 and 4 years straight, and everybody knew everybody. Now,
yes,
as you try to make your picks for the Big Ten, the fact that you can flip those upside down is there isn't any room for error, and we just don't know these rosters. I'm seeing the same thing trying to handicap college football. Like, these rosters are completely turned over, and so the NIL and the portal has forever changed the landscape of college athletics, and it makes it, I think, fun on one side, but very challenging to handicap.
It really is. And I mean, this Gopher team, if you want to talk about the Gophers quickly, this Gopher team is going to be really different than they don't have a Matthew Knives, a Logan Cooley, a Jimmy Snuggerud, a Brock Faber. But what they do have is a bunch of really good players, but no superstars. And I think actually it'll be a little bit of a change for Minnesota. And the question will be who's going to be that guy who can score. Well, I think it really is going to be a type of committee type of thing. Now they have one electric player in LJ Mooney, who is Logan Cooley's cousin. But he's a freshman, so we'll see. But going to be a different team this year. And that's kind of the fun of it too, to see the new players that enter the league and all the rivalries. But you're right. As far as if you don't bring your, I don't want to say A game or B game, whatever it is, if you're not working every night, you're going to get beat by somebody, and that's what makes it so great.
All right, final question. We'll let you get going. We really appreciate your time today on Wooden Sticks. We love golf. We love handicapping golf. The Ryder Cup, who wins and why?
Oh, I looked at both teams today, and Europe is loaded, and I mean, they are loaded. Now, not to say that the U.S. isn't, but how are you playing going in? And in fact, I'm watching the BMW this morning at 3 a.m. And John Rahm 2 over par. Tommy Fleetwood, who just won the tour championship. He didn't play great today. So, hey, listen, I'm all in on U.S. and having the home soil, and they are playing one of the most difficult courses in the world, in Bethpage Black. And so I think it'll be set up the way Keegan Bradley wants it set up, and I'm sure he had some input from Scheffler and all those guys, so listen. I love the drama. I know you love the drama.
Oh, I can't get it.
We'll be watching it, but And the sportsmanship between the two teams, I think is terrific. Although they want to beat their pants off. So I think it's one of the best sporting events ever, to be quite honest with you. And but we got to go USA, right?
We have to cheer USA. I'm just going to tell you right now, if you can find Europe in the betting market at plus 150, I'm tempted. I mean, I follow golf just like you do. I'm in this thing week in, week out. I am all over golf throughout the summer. And I think the U.S., outside of playing in New York in front of those crazy fans at Bethpage Black, I think Team Europe on paper is a better golf team. I do. I just do. I think they're better. And
I think you're right.
You got Rory McIlroy coming off a win. You've got depth at the top of that roster. You've got major winners up and down. And now Tommy Fleetwood, who was always good in the Ryder Cup and could never win on U.S. soil. Now he's solved that puzzle. I don't know.
And Auberg or Oberg or whatever Berg. Well, lo and behold, he's suddenly found his game. Shot 64 this morning. And
I'm telling you right now, Europe plus 150. I'll cheer for the U.S. I won't bet enough where I worry about it, but I'm just telling you, I love watching it. I've been to a lot of different sporting events, but going to Hazeltine, what was that, 8-9 years ago? That's as much fun as I've ever had.
Can you believe it was that long ago? Wow. Yeah.
It shocks me. But we're going to get it back. I think it's coming back here in the next 5 or 6 years. So we're going to get to go back out there and do it again. Mick, thank you again for the time. When Kirill locks this thing up before training camp, you and I can have a little text exchange and we can pat each other on the back for being right. And if not, well, then we'll have to go back to the drawing board. But thanks for doing this today.
Hey, my pleasure. I love it. I wish we'd do it more often. Love it. Take care. Thank you.
That's Pat Micheletti right here on Wooden Sticks. I'm back to put a bow on the show and preview what lies ahead at Wild Training Camp next week. All right, great to connect with my buddy Pat Micheletti. He's got great passion, great enthusiasm. You hear him all over this market on different outlets, whether it's Fox 9, whether it's KFAN. He's all over the place. Of course, during the hockey season, he's on the Wild Radio Network. They do a lot of times the call-in show after the games. Of course, he covers Gopher hockey. He covers Big Ten hockey. He's got multi facets to what he brings to the table. And, I think for the most part, we're on the same page here. And so we'll see how it plays out. Both Micheletti and I feel strongly that this is going to happen and Kirill is going to be a member of this team for many years to come. But it's out of our hands. And as fans, you have to trust the process as well and know that until the games really get going and training camp's underway and people are playing at full speed and injury is a risk, until that happens and he's out there without an extension, there's nothing to worry about. They're working on getting the deal done. Kirill just got back here a couple of days ago. So I don't look at it as some type of impasse right now. A week from right now, if we're still having these same worries and training camp is officially underway, then you can come back and maybe grandstand a little bit on your opinion that we should have been freaking out and losing our minds on social media and, dreading the day that Kirill Kaprizov leaves Minnesota. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't. And I'm not going to change my mind. I haven't felt that way once. And until that time comes when he's playing without a contract extension, it's not going to happen for me. And I'm just looking forward to the whole process of training camp and seeing the guys again next week. We've got our media day scheduled. Myself, Anthony LaPanta, Ryan Carter, a bunch of people from our station will be over there just to connect with the guys, hear about their summers, see how their kids are doing, talk about the season that lies ahead. It'll be nice to get back to the routine of the hockey season. And I think the team's going to be great. I really have high hopes for this squad. I like the young talent that's there at training camp with a chance to make the roster and maybe make an imprint at a high level on this team's season. Pat mentioned some of those guys like Liam Ogren, Jesper Wallstedt, Zeev Boyum. A lot of really cool stories that are going to develop in the next couple of weeks as we get started. And then, again, preseason hockey, guys, is right around the corner. I think their first game is the 21st. So we're 10 days away from that part of the season getting going. So it's closer than you can believe right now. And so a lot of good things happening, and can't wait to see that contract get done so we can put it to bed and move forward with number 97 on the ice at Grand Casino Arena. At training camp, I'm going to look to secure some vital guests. I think once this contract gets done, it'd be a perfect time to have the general manager on and let him celebrate a little bit. So that's certainly in the plan. Some of the Wild coaching staff certainly on board. Maybe a guy like Alex Stalock, who's going to be a big part of our broadcast schedule this year at FanDuel Sports. So lots to talk about, lots to get to, and that all starts next week over in St. Paul at Tria Rink. Thanks for being a part of the show today. And if you have any questions or concerns or any requests to have your favorite guest on, just ping me on X or Twitter at Gorgomatic21. Again, this is Wooden Sticks on the Talk North Podcast Network. We'll chat at you next week.